Welcome to the Beantown Bully podcast. Epic versus Apple. It looks like Epic wants to push its weight around since this is the biggest game in the world right now. Epic didn't want to pay the 30% of the fee that it needs to on the storefronts, and they started undercutting the Apple Pay method so that they can get the money directly to them. So they were offering $2 off if you paid it directly to them. And Apple didn't like that, and they kicked them off their app store. Now, I don't think this is that big of a deal because all game fronts, PlayStation, Epic, Steam, Xbox, they all charge gaming companies for putting their games on their storefronts. So it's not that big of a deal, but this is like a common thing. So they get a little kickback for you putting it on their system off every sale. 30% is kind of the number that everybody's throwing out there. I don't think it's that bad because this is literally the thing that every storefront do. I don't know if Epic's doing that because all games that go to Epic are getting a bigger cut. So I don't think Epic's the one who's giving out 30% taxes on everybody. But it does, if they can change the landscape, it will put a lot more companies in the green. It's a big risk to release a game that people may or may not play. Also, if it's a low budget game, like an indie, you would have to put it on the console that has more user base just to cover it. Just to cover all your bases, because there's no guarantee that you're gonna make money, and putting it on both of them could cost you a lot more than what it needs to. So this would probably lead to like a time exclusive deal. Like, hey, I put my game on your thing, you give me a little extra kickback, and technically it's win-win for the company, the dev and the storefront. Now back to Epic versus Apple. They seem like they knew this was already going to happen at the lawsuit. They were going to get pulled out because they had a commercial ready for what was going to happen. So it's not nothing new to them. They knew what was going to happen, and they also are suing Apple and Google for this practice. But it doesn't really make sense because on Android you can go around that. So if you can go around and get your own APK, why wouldn't you just have your own payment method? Because it just doesn't make sense. And the commercial they did use a commercial that Apple used against IBM because they were saying it's kind of anti-consumer, that there was only one big competitor that they could use. I don't know how this is going to work because it clearly seems that Apple's not going to budge because that will lower the revenue that they make. And other storefronts would probably look at Apple and make it seem like they probably will look at Apple and see what they do first, because it wouldn't make sense to lose money off their bottom line. Like, don't get me wrong, Apple stores apps do cost more in the store. So I'm assuming they charge more to the developers. Google prices and Apple prices are drastically different things. And I don't know if they have an exclusive deal that if you put your app on their storefront, that it has to be there for a certain amount of period before you can put it on Google's storefront. Because, like I said, the 30% that devs are putting into the storefront, they may not have enough to recoup on putting it on other storefronts because they might take an L. Alright, let's talk about delayed games. I don't know why this becomes such a hot topic within gamers, because you do get the game, but it's less shitty than what it is when it's released early. So Halo 6 got delayed. Some people are losing their shit after seeing the reveal trailer, which it did have a lot. I shouldn't say a lot, but it did have some problems that you gamers couldn't accept. If the game's been in development for 5+ years, you should already have something workable. Then they're going to try to say that COVID also played a part in 5 years. Truthfully, I don't know how long it takes to make the game, but 5 years, it should look a little bit more polished. But pushing it back, I don't feel like it's a bad thing. They can hope for the best, because it's way better to have the game pushed back and come out with less bugs than it come out with a buggy mess. There's been a few games that have been delayed and people weren't complaining as much, like LA Noire, 7 years, StarCraft 2, 7 years, Shenmue, 6 years. Like, I don't know what the argument is. Do you want a day one patch that's 60 gigs? Like, it just makes more sense to just wait for the game to come out more optimized, because giving it the more time it needs and then it being polished is just a good idea all around. Yes, I can understand that there's no heavy hitters. There's no real heavy hitters coming on Xbox when it launches. But truth be told, if their main bread and butter game, one of their main bread and butter is Halo, Gears, and Forza, and you don't have it already at where it needs to be, then it's a 343 problem. And 343/Xbox have been dropping the ball with Master Chief for so long. It's just like, it doesn't even make sense. The Locke versus Master Chief thing wasn't as good as everyone expected. There was a lot of corridor running, which, run into this room, fight all the enemy in this room, run into the next room, fight all the enemies. I'm like, it was just annoying. Like, they stopped at some point in, Halo 4? Halo 4? Actually, Halo 4, Halo 5. That it just, you just wasn't outside anymore. Like, you wasn't exploring anything. Like, you wasn't outside. You were literally in a building running from room to room. Which, this is the way they want to push it. And I'm just like, you guys, maybe 343, maybe Halo is just too much for 343. They might have to just either give Bungie back Halo and just allow it to be a time exclusive, because it seems that Halo would do a lot better with the hands of the original creators. Because truth be told, the gameplay for Destiny in Bungie's hands, perfect. Storyline, I don't really know. They're trying something new. It's not like they don't have like a story-centric game under their belt besides Halo. But this Destiny thing, it's kind of all over the place. It's not a bad game, but it's kind of all over the place. I don't like what it's become. And Destiny, if they had more of the Halo touch with Destiny, meaning there's a centralized storyline and it actually flowed through instead of there's one part to another part. It's like, it's broken up like these little sections. Like, I don't really care for that. But, it could be a lot better, which I want Halo to be. Halo is literally one of the best games ever made. One of the best franchises ever made. I should say games. One of the best franchises ever made. And there's a lot riding on it. Like, if 343 is not up to the task, Xbox needs to put it in someone else's hands. Like, I don't know what's going on. Even Gears of War, like, I may not really care about the new character, but I've played Halo 4. I'm playing Halo 4. I'm playing Gears 4, and I'm playing Gears 5. Gears 4, I liked it. Gears 5, with the little twist of the girl, she may be half Covenant, or not Covenant. She may be half well, I don't know what they're just called. She may be half of it or whatnot. That's a little twist, but I can accept what they're trying to do because it's literally the gameplay is still there. The storyline may not, like I said, I haven't beaten it yet, so the storyline may change on me if I beat it and then there's like a twist at the end or something at the end that draws me in. But you know, there's a lot there to work with because if they just killed out their main enemy, it kind of would defeat the purpose. But you know, them doing these little side things, it makes it better all around. Like they're trying some the things that 343 has been trying with Halo, it just hasn't been working, and they need to either take a break from it or really just start from scratch. Like they have done Master Chief dirty. They could do a lot better with Master Chief. Now they're trying to copy the Bungie's blueprint and make it a Destiny style type game. Doesn't really work out because you're making it quote unquote free to play, but what's free to play on a console game? You're paying for Xbox Live. And the only people who make you pay for a free to play game is technically Xbox. PlayStation doesn't allow that. So if you had Destiny by itself, you can play Destiny online by itself. But that's another story. But I just feel like they just need a direction to actually move it. Hopefully the storyline's better. Supposedly they had 5 years to make this game. Hopefully they bring it together. It's looking spooky, but the delay, polish up the game, perfect. I just got to see what the story is when they finally drop. I'm keeping an eye on it. I'm not going to judge it and say that I know I said a whole bunch of negative things about it, but I'm not going to just throw it to the wayside. Master Chief's been keeping Xbox's lights on for years. That is their game, and truthfully, the multiplayer is what's going to save. The way they do their multiplayer is clearly what's going to give them money. And on top of that, do we want 1 or 2 Halos for the next console generation? Because if they're trying to do a Destiny thing, the graphics are not going to get better. They're just going to keep adding content. That's why holding off on dropping it is a better option to polish up the game. Because if they're going to make this game a service type game, then dropping it when it has all these bugs wouldn't make sense. Because you want to I feel like the users should get the best quality of the game they're going to get, because they're not going to have a boost in graphics afterwards as soon as after it drops. There's no way this is going to happen. I shouldn't say no way, but let's just be honest. Destiny 1, Destiny 2, there's a bump in graphics. But if the game's going to be there it's a game of the service, let's just say Halo drops, it's going to stay in the mix for about 2-3 years. Are they planning to drop another one? What's the console cycle going to be? Is it going to be another 7 years, another 7+ years? I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of questions there. And, hey, if you're going to use this as a game of a service, you should have the best graphics you can possibly get within the system before dropping it. All the bugs fixed, and there shouldn't be a day one patch. Everything should be fixed right out the gate. I shouldn't say everything, but the majority of things that they can see should be fixed. They should do a lot more testing. They should push this to next. They should probably push this back until next holiday season, just to have it at its best. Audio, visuals, like pop-ins, they should fix all that before it drops. I'm just saying that as a Halo fan, I bought Master Chief Collection on PC again, and I'm literally only playing the original 360 games, Xbox 360 games on the console. Like the majority of the Xbox new games, I'm not really playing. And I'm talking about their main bread and butter. Like I have the Gears collection. I have Gears from the first one to the last one. Halo I have up to Halo 4 and ODST. Reach, I'm playing Reach again. I expect them, and I expect them to get to a certain level of polish for the game. And delayed games is not that bad. I know, complaining about it, I probably repeated myself a this bit, but delayed games, if they're really gonna work on it, I can't be too mad about that. So the next gen hasn't even dropped yet, and there's already problems that gamers are gonna have to face. Now, the whole anti-consumer topic. Let's go into it. Control is one of the game's sleeper hits that people didn't see coming. Drop on all systems, PC, Xbox, PS4. And they want you to buy their Ultimate Edition that comes out later this year for you to bring it on to the next gen. Which doesn't make sense, because if you bought the digital edition and the season pass, you have everything. But they still want to charge you for the upgrade to the next system. People are very upset about this. I am also, because it's like, I already bought the game digitally, but you got my money, and now you want to charge me $60 for the full game. This is why I have a problem with buying brand new games. Like, if this game would have just didn't sell well, they wouldn't have pulled this stunt. But the game sold well enough for them to pull this stunt, and now they're like, okay, we can do whatever we want. And it's on all platforms. So, I don't know why. I say all platforms, all major platforms. I don't know if it's on Nintendo, but this is not something new, but I don't want other games to follow suit. It just doesn't make me feel good about that. Like, if this is going to be the thing, I might as well just buy more of my games on PC then. Like, I'm new to the PC Master Race, so it's been pretty well. Like, don't get me wrong, I do have some of these games that just shut down on me, which is annoying. Like, I download the game right out the box. This is the only problem. This is the only thing I have that's better than the only issue I have that's from consoles to PCs, that the games are literally optimized so that things like that don't happen. But I understand that PC has other variables running. Like, I could be running an antivirus in the background, or apps that may be messing around with the settings. So I can't really be bothered. Like, consoles are better in sorts, because everything is just optimized. Like, if the game is broken, then it's the game's fault. If your game is not working on PC, it can probably be a number of things, and then you have to track it down. And that could be annoying. But like I said, that's a whole nother topic. Back to the game, it's like, technically, when you buy a game, you're technically renting it. You're renting it to be played on that system and that system alone. If you want to call that, because you can't move that to any other system. So if you buy it for PC, the store may take it down and you can't download it anymore. Same thing with consoles. Like, they may just be like, oh, you can't download these games anymore because we're using it for more space. Like, how long are all your digital games on consoles gonna be able to stay there? Like, at some point they're gonna be like, okay, we're no longer having this game in our storefront, so everybody who owns it, you may need to download this to your console if you want to keep it. These things may actually be a thing. And also, they can push an update whenever they want to just turn it off. They did it with, PT. So, what does it mean to actually own a game? I went on a whole little tangent. Like, what does it actually mean to own a game? That's not even in my, it wasn't actually even in my freaking thing to even talk about. But what does it actually mean? Because if they can cut you off at any time, they can push an update to your console that the game won't read. There's a lot of things to think about. Like, I don't know about the only game that I'm gonna give you an example. So what's the game? Lawbreakers. if you own Lawbreakers on disc, are you still able to play it? Because they removed it from all storefronts. I'm like, if you own it on disc, are you still able to play it? Yeah, I know they disabled the online and everything like that, but I'm just like, that's another thing you need to be worried about when you buy games. It's like, you're not really buying it, you're renting it. I may be thinking out the box, like, that may not be the case, but Lawbreakers and PT have shown that if they want to remove it, it's removed. And I don't know if they push it out to people's systems and then be like, push it up to people's systems and it removes it by itself. But that's another thing to think about. Now, back with this whole Control and having to pay to get to the newer version, the next gen version, I should say. Online passes was a thing, so that would allow you to play the game that you bought used, or let's say you borrowed it from a friend, to play it online. Games like Saints Row 3 and 4, Battlefield 3, 4, Far Cry, Ghost Recon Future Soldier, and Mass Effect 3. Now that would actually cost you around $5 to $10 to play online with your friends, on top of you playing the amount of money for Xbox Live and the PlayStation Plus. This is not something new. So Control is not like Control shouldn't. The Controls have its eye. Everybody has their eyes on Control, but this is not a new thing that's just been out and about. Like, this has been tried before. EA has done this. EA is probably the one who is best known for it. It's a thing that has already been done. Also, the upgrade from the older generation to the newer generation, Battlefield 4. When I bought it for PS3, they charged me $10 to get it on to play it on PS4. They said they updated the graphics on this. I couldn't really tell, but like I said, this is a thing that other games may follow suit on. So they'll probably just other companies are probably just waiting in the background to see how fans look at it and see if they can, get more money out of people. This may be a trend. If it works, feel sorry for you guys. Now you'll know not to buy games when they first come out. Wait the year or whatnot until they drop the Game of the Year edition. But technically, even if you did wait for that edition, because the season pass and the game came out already, and you're now have to pay for another one. So anyone who supported the game in its early infancy, it just bit you in the butt, and now you're gonna have to buy a new one. A new version, which is technically this thing which you already paid to play it on PS5. I have a shitload of PS4 games, and I might not jump onto the next console until I see a better deal. Because truth be told, the games they have for PS5 as the PS5 console release, they're going, there's not enough games there, games that I'm looking forward to playing. Now, there is talks about games being backwards compatible so that you can bring it on over, but we'll see how many games actually follow suit with that and actually allow you to. Because if they do, I still don't see what's the point of upgrading. If there's not enough games for when it actually drops, I don't see a point of upgrading. It's literally going to be down to Call of Duty, Destiny. If they drop a new Destiny probably will just be just transfer over. But it's probably gonna be left to a new COD, a new third-person game, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry 6 will be the big games to look at. Those games already have, Assassin's Creed and Far Cry 6, they already have bundles for that. If you buy it early, I think if you pre-order it early, you get it for both consoles. So it necessitates you pre-ordering it. We don't know what happens after the pre-orders are done, but that's something to keep a lookout for. Time exclusives. Am I mad about time exclusives? For games that I'm actually interested in? Yeah. There's one big one, Rise of the Tomb Raider, was exclusive for Xbox for a year, which didn't really hurt me that bad because I wasn't really checking that game, but I did get it when it did come to PS4, and I believe we got all the DLC for it. But I do understand why they would do things like this, because it just makes things it makes things more lucrative for your console of choice. Like, everybody wants these brownie points for your console of choice. So if your console is going to supply you with something that the other console doesn't have, for you being a supporter, I can understand that. So Assassin's Creed Syndicate, they had exclusive DLC. Dragon Age Inquisition, Xbox had exclusive DLC for a certain period of time. Dead Rising 4 released on Xbox first, which was another weird thing, because Dead Rising, if I'm not mistaken, Dead Rising made its home on PlayStation first before it came out to the other systems. I may be wrong about that one. And Final Fantasy VII, it's also another time exclusive for. So is this, these exclusive things, the time exclusive things? I'm not mad about those. They validate you being a loyal customer. Hey, we give you this because you're a loyal customer. You bought into our ecosystem, and we will give you this bonus for buying it. Now, the things I do have a problem with is the thing I'm coming up with now. The Marvel Avengers game is locking out Spider-Man for other consoles. Now, I don't know how big of a role Spider-Man's going to play. I doubt he's going to play a big enough role to really matter, because if he did have a big enough role, they would be tearing the player base around. He's probably going to have a 2-hour, 3-hour side mission that you can play around with. You might be able to move around with him in the other missions. But I don't think it's going to be that bad. And the amount of time that he's going to be able to play as a playable character, because I think it's going to be a side mission to be over with. But he's only available for Sony, which is a problem, because if he's actually locked, it's going to be one of those things that games are going to really start picking this up and doing this left and right. And I don't want this to be a real thing. Don't get me wrong, this has been done before. Soul Calibur, that had console-specific characters. Hahachi, Spawn, and Link were for the big three: Sony, Xbox, and Nintendo. I just don't want this to be a thing, because I want to be able to play all the characters. Now, if he's a time-exclusive character, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But if they're just locking you out completely, that I find that to be an issue. I just think that Xbox is just going to need to pony up money to get their own character. And if they do get their own character, I hope it's just a lock. Like, I hope if when they do get their own characters, because let's just be honest, Xbox is going to have to pay to play like everybody else. As of right now, when they're in the 360 generation, they had all this money to throw around. All this money. They were buying exclusives. They were getting the JRPGs. Xbox 360 was where to play the majority of your games. For some reason, they pulled back on all these games. That's because, truth be told, I feel like it's kind of the fans' fault. Because you allowed Xbox to do all this fuckery for so long. Like, in my mind, they make more controllers than they make video games. You get all these color waves and some of this other stuff. I'm just like, you guys can literally put Xbox back on track. Because don't get me wrong, they're having their own first-party studios making some games. They need to focus on acquiring more studios, acquiring games, putting the games onto their storefront. Start throwing this money around. Make Xbox the console of choice again. And I'm just going to just throw that out there like if people don't already know. I have a PlayStation, I have a Xbox One S, and I have a PC. So I'm just like, I have all of them. I got the Xbox very late in the game. I really only needed it for the Blu-ray DVD player, because I can watch my movies in high def. I just want them to just come out and just bring Xbox back to where it needs to be. Right now, it's not even a contender. It doesn't have a lane. Like, it doesn't really have a lane. Like, you can get all these different controller colors. It's just people are going Google and Gaga off. You're paying like $60 for a controller. The high end controller is like $150. For what reason? What are you playing with these games? Like, what is the point of having all these colorways if you're not playing games? Like, it kind of sounds like I'm bashing Xbox. I just want Xbox to do a lot better than what it is doing already. It can do better. Xbox has the money to do what it needs to be done. Like, what are they waiting for? I know they kind of messed up on this generation. Truth be told, this generation drop may make or break Xbox. Like, I don't even really play Xbox games on the console itself. Like, don't get me wrong, I do have my games, but I don't really play the games. I'm not paying for online because there's no need. I'm just sitting here waiting. I'm just like, Don't get me wrong, they do have some things going for like that Play Anywhere. That streaming service are going to be dropping soon, so you can play all your games anywhere as long as you have an Xbox. I'm waiting to see on that to get it to where it needs to be. Throw your money around. Let people know that Xbox is still a contender. That's it, man. That's all you need to do. Just prove that Xbox is still a contender in these gaming streets. As of right now, we don't know what you're doing besides making controllers. Thank you for listening to the Beantown Bully podcast. Please leave us a review. We're still new to the podcast game. If there's any topics or criticisms, please leave us a comment and shoot us an email at beantownbullies617@gmail.com. If you'd like to support, please check the links in the description.